Off the Beaten Path is brought to you by Warner Sales and Service, your local Bobcat and Hustler dealer. Mastrovito Hyundai, a trusted name in auto sales. And All Seasons Outfitters. Get your sports season started off right.
Welcome to Ohio. We're back up in a stand where we've had a pretty good luck at seeing deer in the past. Never harvested deer on the spot. I missed a giant deer about 4 years ago at 40 yards. So always a confident spot to start the week off. It's a balmy 37 degrees with some sleet occasional. We actually had some snow belts in here when I first got here yesterday. It's deer season. It's 2022. This is Off the Beaten Path Media.
Now there's no lack of great deer in this area, and they were showing up on camera. But like normal, they were on their feet at night, so hopefully one will slip up within shooting hours.
Well, we just got down out of the stand from the morning set. And we're going to go ahead and make a mock scrape. We've got our buck fever. This is our pre-rut. We're going to put this on the ground. We've got our forehead gland. We're going to break a branch. We're going to spray it down with this. We're in a great transition area. We've got a hedgerow dividing two fields. We've got a deer rub right there. We've got another deer rub back there. We've got a natural scrape just on the other side of this little berm here. Bucks transition right through here. It's a great transition area. So we're going to go ahead and get this done. And tree stands right there. About 20 yards, 22-yard shot to the spot. So should make for some great action. Well, I just got our saddle set up. I haven't gone exclusively saddle hunting. We still have some tree stands. We've kind of migrated some of the sets over to saddle hunting, or where tree stands have been pulled. We just leave the sticks and have been implementing the saddle a little bit more. It's still a trial and error as far as getting the perfect setup. But anyways, we're sitting in the tame tree. We're sitting in the same tree that we were sitting in last year, where I harvested my buck. Scrape in the same spot. There was a great last year. Multiple runs coming down off this hill. The wind was just howling today. We figured it'd be better to get down in this bottom, get out of the wind. Hopefully the deer will be up on their feet moving here this afternoon. So we got not a full afternoon set, but a little afternoon set. We're going to see what happens.
Now I'm set up in this little bottom where you can see deer come in and out from a long distance away. We had several decent bucks within sight. Unfortunately, the cameras just don't zoom out that far. Off the Beaten Path is brought to you by Athens Archery, the ultimate hunting bow, period. The Gunworks of Central New York, your full-service gunsmith. Zeus Broadheads, Smart Head Technology. And AccuFire, advancing accuracy. Follow our social media pages to stay up to date on all our adventures.
Well, the weather forecast isn't conducive for any of our tree stands for this afternoon. Calling for on and off rain right till 6 p.m. But we still want to put some time in the field here, so we set up this hay bale blind earlier today, just on the edge of this field, and it's always an area where a lot of deer cut through. I actually got a tree stand about 80 yards behind me in a tree. I've always kind of had a lot of deer come through here. There's a field adjacent to this that actually has round bales in it, so it's not like it's anything new that the deer haven't seen before. Anyways, we're going to sit it out here till dark and see what might come out in this field and feed over our way, and we'll give it a go.
It's November, it's the rut, and we're back in Ohio. We're not going to waste any time and get back into the stand.
From our stand here, and there's a scrape here right underneath this tree, so it's not really too big. Looks like it needs to be freshened up, but definitely a good sign.
Off the Beaten Path is brought to you by Buck Fever Synthetic Scents. Make bucks hunt you. The New York State Big Buck Club, recognizing the New York hunter and their trophies. Keystone Game Calls, the originator of the wedge. Live Free Armory, accurate and efficient firearms. Badlands Gear, unconditional hunting gear. Just when we thought things looked up for movement, things dropped right off. Either the bucks were in lockdown or the crazy weather had them all confused.
The Big Buck Profile is brought to you by the New York State Big Buck Club.
Okay, we're here at the banquet with Jason.
Yes.
All right. Frank, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Tell us about this buck. What county, weapon of harvest, and gross inches?
He is from Jefferson County, town of Brownville. He grossed 144.3, finished 140.3, so he just made the book
Nice.
with the rifle.
Yep.
I killed him with the rifle on the 29th of October. I've had pictures of this buck since I knew he was 3. He probably was around as a 2-year-old, but he was nothing special. At 3 I started noticing him, but he'd broken. At 3, he had actually this year was he just grew this back the year that I killed him. He had this when he was 3, and he busted his main beam off during velvet just above his brow tine at 3. Saw him a ton as a 3-year-old. As a 4-year-old, he started getting camera savvy, and you'd get a picture of him on a camera, you never see him on that camera again. You get him on another camera maybe a couple weeks later. As a 5 and a 6-year-old, the only pictures I had of him were in September bachelor groups. You'd never get a picture of him after that. You'd get him in the back of a bachelor group in September. I killed him as a 7-year-old.
Wow.
He was 200 pounds after hanging for 3 days. It's funny because I shot over his back as a 6-year-old with my bow. He ducked an arrow at like 40 yards.
Wow.
And I shot over his back. I killed a 162 in Indiana in 20, and I wasn't gonna hunt again after I killed that buck that year. I killed a good buck, and buddy saw him crossing the road. I didn't think he was around because he normally would vanish for a while in November and then show back up. So I went in and hunted. Didn't think it was this buck that he'd seen. And hadn't seen a deer all morning. 8:15, he walks out. I stood up and I shot right over his back, and I about threw up because last year, ironically, I didn't have any pictures of this deer when I killed him. I had pictures of, I'm assuming one of his siblings. It's a buck that's about 2 years younger than this one. He was about 130-inch 8-point last year. I do have pictures of him again this year. He's one of my target bucks, but I had pictures of that big 8, and I had blocked off 3 days for this one area that if I have a big buck on the property, if you hunt around Halloween and you sit dark to dark, you can kill him on the right wind. Ironically, I'd set up Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I was going to hunt, which would have been the 30th, 31st, and the 1st. And on the wind forecast for Saturday was horrible. And I'm a corrections officer, but I'm also a fishing guide. I had clients on the morning and Friday, steelhead fishing, and the weather was crap for Saturday, so I decided to hunt on Friday evening, and I got in the stand early about 2:30, and that stand's real effective for light calling in the evenings or in the mornings that time of the year, and I just light sparring, grunted. 15 minutes later, he shows up raking a tree, and when I killed him, I shot him high shoulder and dropped him, and I thought until I walked up on him he was that big. I saw he was a shooter, and shot him, and when I walked up on him, I knew exactly what deer it was. I was amazed. He was even more impressed. I've traveled a lot out of state to shoot bucks like this and to shoot that in New York.
Same with me. We all do it.
You know?
And it's crazy you have all that history with them and all the cameras year after year. That makes it more of a reward.
Yeah,
you know what
it was
I mean? That's
special deer. I've killed some good deer out of state, and they're not as special as this one.
Yeah, no,
and they're bigger. You know.
Yeah, it's always special when they're home.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
On property I've hunted since I was probably 25, so got some history hunting that property.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for coming
thank
by,
you.
sharing your story, dude. Great buck.
Thank you.
Great buck.
Off the Beaten Path is proud to partner with these outfitters. Eastern Canadian Outfitters in Ontario and Quebec. Conklin's Lodge, Patten, Maine. Governor's Table Camp, New Brunswick. And Rhino Outdoor Adventures in the great state of Texas.
buck scrape right in front of us, 20 yards. The other day when I came in to make the buck scrape, it was a warm day and the buck was bedded down in the ravine, staying cool. So I'm thinking these bucks are traveling this. Looks like an old farm tractor road or logging road. Part of it's grown in down below, but it's easy enough for deer to get through and, take the path of least resistance. So I put a little buck fever estrus, the red moon estrus in the scrape with a little hanging baler twine that I dipped in the estrus, so get them to hopefully stop long enough for me to get a shot off. So we're gonna give it a go here for this afternoon and see what happens.
It's always funny how trips seem to go by so quick. Even though we didn't have a lot of deer movement, we did see some great deer, and hopefully they'll be a little bit bigger next year.